Hello everyone, this is my reaction to yesterday's Star Citizen Live Q&A, Vehicle Flight and Balance. I rarely watch Star Citizen Live in the past. I always get the impression, here are a few guys, they want to make a space game, they are just starting brainstorming. It was not any different with yesterday's Star Citizen Live. I never get the impression, this is a well-oiled machine, CRG knows what they are doing. CRG seems to think they have all the time in the world. Year 13, not even the flight model is finished.
What is the intended purpose for heavy fighters? Right now, they have a turn rate very similar to ships like the Connie and Corsair, but they lack the shields and firepower of those.
So, this is a question for me, yes. We have been playing with heavy fighter tuning since 3.23, basically the master mode release, and our idea about the heavy fighter role hasn't changed much throughout the time. So basically, what we think an heavy fighter is basically a heavier fighter that has lower maneuverability compared to light fighters, but increased durability and increased firepower. That's as simple as that, right? Currently, we have retuned the entire heavy fighter class that includes ships like the F8, the New Guardian, the other Guardians, and so on and so forth, to fit a better spot. And in our opinion, the spot that now the heavy fighters actually cover, it's quite fine. We do notice that the heavy fighter class is slightly underperforming right now, though, but we think it's related more to the relationship in between cross classes rather than the heavy fighters tuning per se. So stuff, for example, like how the heavy fighter is dealing against like a medium fighter, for example, or a ship of a bigger size, like for example a Constellation or stuff like it. So we would like to dive more into the tuning for other classes first before assessing the the overall heavy fighter tuning, and if that need to be addressed once again. So currently this is the state of the heavy fighter class in general, but we have some even more updates or like more ideas for the.
This guy talked for more than 1 minute, but he didn't say anything. You should be a politician. Yeah, we are still trying. We got master modes in 3.23. We want to work with the smaller ships first, then we will balance heavy fighters. Then he noticed that he didn't say anything. In his desperation, he looked to Yogi, and Yogi came in. Yogi didn't say anything concrete either.
More updates. So the current ratio on where the fighters sit doesn't necessarily need to stay this way. We have the updated flight model coming.
Let this sink in. Year 13, CRG was at $1 billion in funding in January already, according to Carl Jones. And here we have CRG talking about, yeah, we are getting the new flight model soon. Can you be any more arrogant?
For example, in our perspective at the moment, with the new or with the updated flight model, the heavy fighters, they just feel a little bit too tanky because they're still fighters, right? So we're currently evaluating whether or not we should make them more vulnerable.
I want to point out very clearly, I have nothing against Yogi. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But he's in charge of the flight model and he doesn't even understand his own game. Yogi thinks the problem with heavy fighters is they are too tanky. This is wrong. The real problem with heavy fighters is they are only offering a bit more firepower than light and medium fighters. They are only a bit more tanky, but they are a lot more sluggish. And even the part about heavy fighters have only a bit more firepower than light and medium fighters is not even true anymore, since we got Hornet F7A and Hornet F7C Mark II. Medium fighters that have more firepower than most heavy fighters. How can someone be in charge of the flight model if he doesn't even understand his own game?
What happened with the new quantum travel experience that we saw at CitizenCon 2953, so 2 years ago?
Okay, so at this point, the quantum experience that you saw there was exactly how it was at that time in Squadron 42. That design since then has changed a bit.
As you may have guessed, and Brian Chambers may have let slip a bit earlier, we are feature complete on Squadron 42.
So there's basically 3 speed ranges that you need in Star Citizen. One is to go from, let's say, one POI to another, or between planets or something like this, like where we're talking millions of kilometers, right? Then you need the range in which you're navigating within these spaces. So let's say going from, let's say you have a bubble of like 300 kilometers or so in size. You need to navigate in between there, but you don't want to fly with your SCM speeds, right? So for that, quantum boosting will be used. And then there's the normal SCM speed region. So basically the thruster-based flying, which will still be limited to, I don't know, maybe 300 meters per second or so.
Yeah, nav mode will be gone and we are fighting at max 300 meters per second. Very well done, CRG. You're totally ruining your game.
Will the F8 ever once more become a mobility monster? It feels like a flying brick.
This is exactly what I said in this video already. Heavy fighters are way too sluggish. Having a bit more firepower, being a bit more tanky than light and medium fighters doesn't help. And when I look at F7C and F7A Mark II, even the part about having a bit more firepower than medium fighters is not true.
And that ship in particular it's got loads of guns, it's got loads of thrusters, and as you say, not all ships have to fit the perfect progression of balance, and that's in that sense, so we're definitely looking at what the ship should be with a new flight model as well. There's going to be some more changes there.
Another guy who's talking and saying nothing, and again, yeah, the new flight model will fix everything. I really wonder, why was F8C Lightning in such a good spot when she was on sale? And after sale stopped, she was nerfed to the ground. Yeah, not exactly the first time this happened.
Also, we added jerk. So jerk is the change of acceleration. So instead of going within a frame from 0G to 9G, we're ramping this up now.
Again, I have nothing against Yogi, but this is silly. Yogi, did you forget we had jerk in the game before 3.14 when CRG removed it? And now you make it look like, hey, we added jerk. No, it was already in the game in the past.
So thrusters, atmospheric flight, control services, and the third one was?
Quantum experience. Yeah, quantum experience will change because at the moment it's very clunky how we traveled through the game. So I think the best example is nav mode will die is probably the So, but this is like
no, look directly in that camera. Hold on. Look.
Which one?
Say it again.
This one, right?
Hold on. Go to Yogi's camera. Yeah, sure. There you go. Say it again.
Nav mode will die.
I said it many times already in this video. I have nothing against Yogi, so I won't repeat this now. This is just unbelievable for me. Year 13, $1 billion in funding, and they still have no idea what they want with the flight model. CRG is still throwing spaghetti at walls, and check what sticks. They are even making fun of their own incompetence. Star Citizen must be one of the worst managed game projects in history of gaming.
This question's worded a little bit, but it's basically saying capital ships in atmosphere, WTF. Like everybody's seen the terrible, everybody's seen that Polaris or that Idris. You're trying to do a line of mine, you're trying to do a Stormageddon, whatnot, and it's just capitals in atmosphere. Any hope? Okay,
so the vertical thing, right? Where ships do this, like nobody wants that, right? CR doesn't want that. Like he had a talk with me last week, right? But this is also something we probably will only fix with the new flight model. I don't want to say, oh, it's going to be fine in the future, but it is the plan for this, right? So right now, when you're in atmosphere, we have something called thruster efficiency curves, and the efficiency of your thrusters goes down by about 50% in the highest case. In the future, that efficiency will be much, much lower. So what you can expect that if you have a ship, let's say, give me a ship with VTOLs, I don't know, Cutlass, right?
I find this so funny because Cutlass is a perfect example how not to design a ship, how CRG doesn't care about even some very basic physics. Let's go into hover mode. Only engines at the rear are pointing down. What would happen in atmosphere and in space? This would happen. CRG doesn't even understand some very basic physics.
So let's say the Idris is landed. then you will get a message on the heads-up display that tells you what your thrust to weight ratio against gravity is, and if that ratio is below 1, you will not be able to take off. And this is then just taking account the mass of the ship, how much it is loaded on it. So if you have your cargo full of lead cubes, let's say that, right? Then it is possible that you will not be able to take off. So now
It's possible, not a guarantee.
it's not a, it's
You can overload.
you can overload and then you will not be able to take off. I mean, you may try to boost, because boost gives you like a vertically, I think like something like 35% more thrust. You can put more power into your engine, so you get this natural resource network based buff in your engines, but you will have a hard time just hovering like this, right? And at the same time, because these are your strongest thrusters, but your retros are usually a lot weaker than the other thrusters. So if you do this, you will eventually just sink down.
I think this makes sense. I just don't expect to see this in a game anytime soon.
So the space flight model is done.
The spaceflight model is done. This means Master Mode is here to stay. Please vote with your wallets. Master Mode is one of the worst things that ever happened to Star Citizen. It's terrible, it feels artificial, it's no fun at all.
Are there any plans to make industrial ship turrets be a viable deterrent, or will they remain a mostly useless POS?
Slightly subjective question.
It's very subjective, isn't it?
It's possible I'm adding my own spin to some of these things because I have feelings of my own.
Once again, Yogi doesn't even understand the problem. I guess Yogi has never used a turret. Not only industrial ship turrets are terrible, all turrets feel very, very bad for many, many patches by now. It's not fun, it's very hard to hit small and agile fighters.
You know, we want the ships to be able to defend themselves with turrets. We are working on the kind of general turret experience and how kind of powerful the turrets are as well. You know, and we made some changes. Was it last release? Yeah.
In general, like with the engineering
so we buffed them up.
modifiers, yeah, we buffed the ammo, we buffed maybe some regenerates for specific ships as well. So.
Yeah.
But there's this other thing, like the thing that we're currently lacking is effective medium range weaponry. Right now, because a turret that fires projectile, just like it's just the,
right, normal gun projectiles.
This is a gun projectile. The thing is like we don't want to twist like the projectile after we launched it, right?
We don't want to trace the projectile after we launched it, right? I find this very strange because Christopher Roberts wrote something very differently September 11th, 2020. A ballistic round passes through the ship's shield, which scraps off some of its kinetic energy, but not enough, as the round's velocity was high, as was its mass, as it was an armor-piercing round. It manages to penetrate the armor and strikes an internal component, say a power node, something else we are working on as part of the pipe system refractor. The power node takes damage, giving it a chance to misfire while in use. A few minutes later, the node does misfire, blowing its fuse and resulting in it catching fire. This pretty much sounds to me as tracing every bullet. I replied to Chris and said this is way too ambitious, this will take at least another 10 to 20 years. Chris replied, I can promise you the gameplay I described is not a pipe dream, nor will it take 10 to 20 years to deliver. Chris, you have 5 more years to convince us.
So what we need is like some medium range weaponry. We have a plan for this. Like we would like to try out flak at some point, but it's not ready for multiplayer yet. But it can range this it can be effective beyond the range where normal gun turrets are effective.
Once again, we have a plan for this.
I have a plan.
Great. Custer had a plan too.
A lot of these weapons that people use at the moment to damage larger ships, they might not be able to damage them in the future. It's like if you have a pistol and shoot at a tank, the tank says, well, okay, right?
Threshold damage, I like this idea very much. For example, in real life, if you have a rifle caliber machine gun and lots of ammunition and spare barrels, you can shoot at a battleship all day long. You won't sink it. I just don't expect to see this in a game anytime soon. Maybe never.
The safety distance is calculated between the torpedoes that you launch and your ship itself. So if your ship is moving and the torpedo is moving, and you're not 1.5 kilometers away from the torpedo won't detonate. But however, this is not the intended final direction that we want. We have already spoke with all these peeps and PAT and Team Johnny as well for some updates on the safety mechanics based mostly on the distance traveled of the torpedoes and also some safety
From
check.
the moment it was launched.
Yeah.
Translation, we CRG fucked up, we don't have enough experienced coders left. Yeah, CRG will correct this. I find it funny that some white knights try to sell this to us as intended behavior. No, it was not intended.
Ground vehicles, why do they suck?
So we have, obviously made a big kind of change to ground vehicles. So we changed the fundamental physics of the ground vehicles.
I have to ask again, why are you talking when you don't know what you're talking about? CRG did never change the physics of ground vehicles. All CRG changed was in 3.17. They made it so that ground vehicles cannot drive up 90-degree slopes anymore, which of course was totally silly. But you didn't fix ground vehicle physics. Not at all. By the way, this is a 1G planet, this is a 70-ton tank, and look at those physics. This is the best CRG can do in year 13 with more than $1 billion, according to Carl Jones. Yeah, there's no mass simulation, no inertia, vehicles are just pivoting around the central Z-axis, and this thing jumps around as if it would be made out of paper. Yeah. It's really annoying to use ground vehicles in this game. I love to drive in games, but not in Star Citizen.
But also we want to give more purpose to the ground vehicles as well. And that just isn't the ground vehicle itself, it's the guns or it's the torpedoes on the ground vehicle. So it's about improving those systems as well, so players have more of a reason to choose them.
I don't understand why someone can work at CRG at a rather higher position and still has no clue. How is this possible? You could put a nuke on a ground vehicle and people still wouldn't use them because the driving experience is so abysmal bad. No one expects driving physics like in iRacing or ACZ, but much smaller studios with much less money can give players some fun and good driving physics.
Any hope for some kind of throttle control or something on ground vehicles? Is it still just a press and you go to your top speed?
It is somewhere as a ticket. I think in my list even. I don't know. But it's like compared to other things like really low priority.
Low priority, fine, but why are you selling ground vehicles? Recently, Quake had MTC. I don't want Star Citizen to fail. I want Star Citizen to become a fantastic game and a huge success. But I have no hope left with Chris making the decisions and the people we saw in the Star Citizen live. I stopped buying ships 2 years ago. I wish I would have never started. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Crackhead PTV. Yippee. Oh, that's rather uncommon that it turns on its back. Usually vehicles are rather stable in flight, except Nova Tank. I mean in freefall. Yeah, we didn't take any damage. Are you back on your wheels? Still moving. It's still moving. It's still moving. Okay, and now it turns magically on its wheels. Yay. Not flip over, except Nova Tank. But of course, yeah, perfectly fine. And now we are in spin. Okay, this started a few patches ago. Yeah, she doesn't want to stop spinning. Come on, stop spinning. Stop spinning. This is a 1G planet and this is what we have for physics. You can fire the gun while you are falling. Oh no, we are fine. Usually Nova Tank exploded. No idea why we are now fine. Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter or on Blue Sky.